Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode of Den Excelsior, the mostly Marvel podcast. This is episode 105 for the week of September 8th. Damn, we're in September already. With me, as always, we got Dennis.
What's up?
What is up, man? We're like in.
That intro was weird. It got that not your intro, but the
Oh,
video.
a
The video
little.
got cut off.
Yeah.
Oh well.
We're like out of summer, but we're kind of not in the fall yet. And that's why we're watching Highlander.
That's not why we're watching Highlander. That's not why at all. Okay, that's the reason I wanted to watch Highlander is because I actually wanted to do it last week when it was more topical, but we owed everybody a Blue Beetle conversation. But the reason I wanted to talk about Highlander last week was because it just had gotten announced that the studios are rebooting that franchise like they reboot every cult classic popular franchise nowadays. But Henry Cavill is being cast as Duncan MacLeod, the Highlander, or not Duncan. Sorry, I mean Connor MacLeod. He's attached. No, I believe he's yes. Sorry, whatever you want to. Ricky, you just read about it right now.
Yeah,
I've read
and
about
it's
it for a week.
attached. It's not like a it ain't official till people start shooting. Let's be real.
He is backed, or he is currently in talks, or whatever you want to call it, to play the main character in a reboot, which will be directed by Chad Stahelski of John Wick notoriety. And I actually, when I heard about this, I was really excited because I have like weird core memories of Highlander, but it had actually been a really long time since I'd watched anything Highlander. And so when my wife and I found out about that, she's like, I've never actually watched Highlander. And so we popped it in and watched it. And I was like, I got to make Ricky watch this because I feel like this is one of those movies that, we're always trying to get Ricky to watch the old stuff that we grew up on and stuff. And like, I'm going to be honest, I don't know that I ever finished that movie back when I was a kid. It's not a very kid appropriate movie. But
No,
anyways, we can talk more about that later. But that's why I chose, because we have a little break. I mean, we kind of decided a little while ago that Harley Quinn is fun and all, but it's not enough to really get the nerd juices flowing on any given week, right? Like it's a little bite
no, it's
size.
just
It's
like
a
a
little
little thing, a little teaser every
it's
week.
an appetizer, right? It's a nerd appetizer. And so we were like, I think there's space for other things to come back into our lives, and as much as I am totally enjoying the crap out of Ahsoka, I honestly feel weird talking to people that haven't watched Star Wars Rebels about Ahsoka. So and I know that's the weird nerd debate going on all over social media,
I don't
is like,
gatekeep.
do I have to? No, I'm not gatekeeping. I'm saying I don't want to talk to you about it. That's what I'm saying.
I'm
I'm
just
not saying,
happy that the Anakin's back in the picture. At least for we can spoil it, right? At least for one episode.
I mean, I guess you're just deciding to spoil it. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
well, I definitely didn't put Ahsoka spoilers in the
well,
comment. In
you're in the hot pit, so the crazy thing is they have announced a mid-season fan celebration, and they're going to air the next episode of Ahsoka in theaters in
Yeah,
some cities, and
yeah.
that's fucking insane. Like
I
that's
mean,
like
it's not that insane. They did Inhumans in theaters.
well, they did the first episode of Inhumans,
So what? It
so
doesn't
that I
matter.
mean that you're building up. It's a new show. We don't know what it is. They're saying, hey, that shit you've been watching at home for the past 3 weeks, you got
Sure,
to go to the theater.
sure.
And so that leads me to believe that they're gonna either a Rex or a Grogu will be showing up in some capacity. That's my take.
Rex or a Grogu?
Yeah,
Why'd you go so small there? Why, those are dumb characters to show up in this
those
show.
are. Hey man, Grogu's hot ticket right now.
Why Rex?
I feel like Rex has a lot of ties with Ahsoka.
Mm,
You do like a little flashback with Rex.
no, that's not movie worthy at all. Neither of those are movie worthy. That's the first time Grogu's in movie theaters is not going to be an episode of Ahsoka, dude. It's not. It's not either of those things. It's Anakin. It's going to be a Darth Vader.
Well, yeah, on top of Anakin. Let's get that straight.
That's no. Nobody cares about Rex or Grogu for in Ahsoka. That's not Star Wars Rebels season 5. Okay, that's not. We're watching Rebels season 5 right now. We're not watching Mando 3.4 or whatever.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's all going to be Mando 3.4.
Nah,
You know
not
that.
not if this show takes off the way it is. Then Mando's gonna have to be like serving up, like, he's gonna be subservient to Ahsoka. Because if this show is badass right now, and I'm just saying, I wished that the more recent seasons of Mando had been on this level, but I feel like Dave Filoni was always saving up the sauce for this, because Dave Filoni loves, like, Star Wars Rebels is his baby. That's
Yeah.
his baby more than it. The Mando is Jon Favreau's baby with Dave Filoni. You know what I mean? But like, Jon Favreau only knows Star Wars as deeply as he does because of Dave Filoni and Clone Wars,
I'm
and then
saying, don't be surprised. There's a little Grogu action next week.
I will be surprised if Grogu's in it, because I'd be like, why is he there? That's dumb. Anyways, I am enjoying it. I'm sorry for anybody who just showed up to watch our Highlander show and immediately got this week's episode of Ahsoka spoiled by Ricky. I apologize.
I actually didn't spoil it.
You said Anakin.
Did I say? I thought you said Anakin.
No, I didn't say. You said Anakin, and then I was like, why are you spoiling? And then you're like, well, we're in the hot bucket or whatever, hot pit. And I was like, I don't even know what that means.
I don't know what it means either.
Rewind the tape. He said those things, ladies and gentlemen. What else have you been nerding out on, Ricky, besides Ahsoka?
What else have I been nerding out on? It's been a busy week. I went to Rogers. We didn't talk about that last week. I saw that, and that was really.
I thought we'd get away from that one.
Well, that was the only superhero adjacent thing that I had done in the past 2 weeks. Other than that, yeah, it's kind of been a little bit of whirlwind in my personal life. So I've not had a lot of nerd media injected in my veins aside from Ahsoka.
Gotcha. I definitely tried to watch Justice League X Ruby for 5-10 minutes.
Why?
I decided that is not for me.
Yeah.
Why? Because I'm always willing to give everything a shot if it's related to the DC universe or Marvel universe. I'll give it all a shot.
No, I definitely got a line.
I try it all, but like that was definitely on the wrong side of the line for sure. It is not for me.
Did you watch any I Am Groot?
I watched all of I Am Groot. That shit's great.
Season 2, it's out, right?
Oh, if it's out, I did not see it because my Disney Plus has just been occupied with Little Mermaid for 3 days.
Oh, how's that?
That movie is rough, man. It's not because I'm not being racist.
You're gonna get us canceled.
Racist. I actually really like the casting. I like the special effects. I like the acting. I like all that. What I don't like is that they took an hour-and-a-half movie and made it 2 hours and 20 minutes long.
Yeah, that's what you do.
No,
they did that to The Lion King, and that movie made $1 billion.
Terrible. That movie's terrible.
Yeah, but it made $1 billion.
I don't care. It's terrible. That movie's not fun to watch. It's all boring. It's boring.
Rinse and repeat the script, and you just
no. That's not what rinse and repeat is. Rinse and repeat is repeating the script. This is an extra hour long compared to the original, and it's too long. It's just
I've
too long.
I've not seen it, but I have seen the Under the Sea song.
It's a little subdued. I was not. Yeah. I didn't like. We finished the movie today. Then we immediately loaded up the old Little Mermaid and listened to Under the Sea, and the new one just hits in a not
sing that
so great
in my
way.
like fourth grade choir. So that song always had a special place in my
Yeah.
heart.
That said, Part of Your World, oof, she sings the crap out of it in the new version. That is a phenomenal. I can just watch that all day. Is it Halle Bailey? Is that what it is?
Yeah, if you remember, she opened for the Beyonce concert you went to.
Oh, she did.
Yeah, her and her sister, Halle and Chloe Bailey.
Oh, interesting.
Mhm.
Yeah, she sang the crap out of her songs. It's just all the new stuff that I don't like in the movie, and like
Are you pro or against Aquafina?
you know, at first I didn't like her, but she only like in this movie. I mean, I always like her in general, but like at first she was kind of rubbing me the wrong way because I have such very distinct memories of the original Scuttlebutt, but she won me over.
Spielberg
She had
Godfrey, right? Or no,
no,
not. He's the
no.
the
I think
Aladdin.
it's Jim Cummings actually is Scuttlebutt. Jim Cummings is like the voice of like Tigger and
She's been getting that animated work, man. She got this. She got
yeah,
Raya. She has the pigeon movie or the duck movie coming out soon.
yeah, yeah. I mean, she's a really fun comedic talent. So she won me over. I would say her and Scuttlebutt and Ariel were like the two MVPs in that movie for me. Uh, Melissa McCarthy was actually really good too. Those three.
She looks good. She looks like
Yeah,
the
like Ursula. Yeah, she looks
yeah.
like Ursula. But yeah, like I said, all the extra scenes, like giving Eric a song, ugh, like did not need that. Like just like taking out the scene where the chef is trying to cook Sebastian. That's kind of a bummer. They took that one
Yeah,
out.
that's it's kind of a bummer.
But yeah, like so that's what I'm saying. Not only did they add an hour to the movie, they
They
subtracted
remix it,
scenes.
you know.
It's too long. It's too long. So it took us like 3 days to watch the whole movie. And
No, she saw that on Disney Plus, right?
yeah, it's on Disney Plus. Yeah. So I will go and watch season 2 of I Am Groot because I did not know that it was out.
I think that's out. Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't realize they're getting a Goosebumps show on Disney Plus. Kind of its own new thing. And were you a Goosebumps? Did you miss that wave? Were you too young for that old for that wave?
Too old for that one.
Those stories are good.
Yeah.
7-year-old Ricky thinks those stories are good. I have not I would I've actually been searching. I've been trying to find. I feel like that's a dumb thing I would want to buy is like all of the Goosebumps books because they're mass produced and like I feel like you can just buy a set and there's
Yeah.
not. Like I want the compendium of Goosebumps.
Get it as an audiobook.
I have listened to one of the audiobooks. They're pretty good. Actually, I did get a book this past week. I got From a Certain Point of View the
book you've been shilling for like all year
yes,
long.
yes. The new one came out and it's great, at least from what I read. So
Oh,
little side,
it's a new
yeah,
sequel to from a
yeah.
certain
So
point of
they've
view.
done it for the past the three original movies, where
Okay,
they
gotcha.
tell the story of the movie through side characters and side stories.
Gotcha.
So they're
Okay.
really fun, but the audiobooks are the best because they're all acted.
Gotcha. That's
Mhm.
cool. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, and then the only other thing I've been nerding out on is like Baldur's Gate 3 is crack.
Yeah, you sent us some very not safe for work images that I opened up at work.
Nice. Yeah. Well, that's what you get.
Yeah.
Don't trust me. But then I deleted them right away. So if you saved them, that's on you. That's on you.
Yeah, I may have downloaded them.
Yeah. That game is the closest thing I've ever seen to pen and paper Dungeons and Dragons being realized in a video game. You can do a lot of things in that game that like were extensive meetings in the boardroom at some point by those developers. They're like, should we let them
Well, that
be
game had
able
a
to
pretty
walk around
unique turnaround because they were in early access for like years.
4 years? I think 3 or
Yeah.
4 years. Yeah.
Um, that was kind of cool. That's a game of that size. I feel like that's a little unheard of, but it seems to have paid off.
it has paid off. It is a quite impressive game. I am so excited, like because like I've already started that game so many times because like it's just so fun to see. Like, I mean, the beginning. The only problem I have with it is it just like any video game. It is the same game every time you play it, right?
Mhm.
But you can play it so differently every time depending on who you are, who you make as a character. You know what I mean? So like, for example, in the beginning, like you're Ricky, to spoil it, you're literally on the spaceship that we used to fly in our last campaign.
The squid, really?
Yes, it's this it's
Wow, I didn't
that
know it was a
is
squid.
that
Oh, I'm gonna
it
buy this game right now.
the game starts
You,
with you
I'm
on
sold.
that ship, and there's even like shots in the cutscenes that are taken straight from those images that we used in that
Wow. Why
campaign.
you guys should have led with that? I just see this
I was trying to
dumb
say,
Baldur's Gate chat going on in our Slack.
I was trying to save that excitement, that surprise
No,
for
give me
you.
that. Spoil that for me. I'm in.
So it starts on the ship, and like it was funny because my wife and I are playing it. Lindsay and I are like, well, he never described the inside of the ship like this. Like, like we're like looking at, because like on the outside, it's the exact same thing, but on the inside, it looks way different than I guess I ever imagined it looked like. But anyways, you start on that ship, and you wake up like you're in a pod. You've been abducted, basically. Like there's a bad guy who's like abducting people and doing experiments on them in his ship, and you wake up and
Download this while we're talking, so it'll be done whenever we're
yeah,
finished.
and you get out of your little pod and you're walking around in trying to figure out what to do, and there's other pods with other abductees in it too, right? And there's a person who's desperately begging you to let them out, and depending on your character, you can do different things. Like you could be like, nah, you're an elf, I'm not down for that, right? I'm not down, I'm a drow, I'm not gonna do that. Or you could be like super smart, like if you have high intellect, you can figure out like a way to open it. Or if you're a big dumb strong barbarian,
That's
you can
me.
literally just rip the door off of the thing and help her out. And it's so funny that you just have these different options available to you depending on what your character is or who you are, And so the game basically starts with the question, who are you? And I think the rest of the game spends an just an amazing amount of time and energy letting you answer that question as you are presented with choice after choice after choice. You get to decide who you are, and it's such a blast. Like I also really like that. Like they really try to capture the pen and paper experience. So like it is a
I
turn
have
based.
seen there's dice, there's actual dice
Yeah,
rolls,
there's
and
dice rolls, but they only choose to make you roll the dice in very cool moments where it's like, oh, this really matters, and so you roll it, and I don't know, it just feels
are you save scumming or no?
what does that mean? Oh,
Where if you
saving
don't,
before you don't like the outcome.
yeah.
Oh, no, not really. We only did it once where like we got our party wiped, and I think that would have just been the game over, right? Like, so that's not really save scumming. That's just like, I don't want to go and restart
No
the game.
conviction.
I don't want to go restart the game, so I'm going to load and see if I can actually approach this battle differently. So, but that's like any video game, right? Like I don't know if that counts as save scumming, but I know what you're saying. No, I take the rolls as is.
Well,
As they play. Yeah.
well, speaking of
Oh yeah.
play,
Oh
we
yeah.
had it's a very light news week, partially because we got New York Comic Con coming up. So not a lot of comic news is coming out before that. And then
So we're
also
going into the news, are you saying?
yeah, there's one big story this week.
It's
Some would say it's a
huge.
giant story. You wanna take us into it?
All right, fine. I guess if I don't get the
You want me
fanfare
oh,
of
you want me to
story,
play the thing?
I guess. Marvel Legends news, because that's pretty much all we got. And the big, giant, huge news for this week was, as everybody expected, the HasLab was going to be announced today, immediately after the Ahsoka HasLab ended yesterday, or was it the day before? I think it ended the day before.
Yep.
And that one was successfully funded, way over what they needed to get all the tiers and stuff. So congrats to them. I'm everybody who collects the 3 3/4 inch Star Wars line, really happy, I'm sure, to have this addition to their collection.
Ships.
No, yeah, I mean the ships are awesome. So, but so we knew that Hasbro has learned their lesson from previous years, and they're trying not to double up on campaigns. So they were waiting for Star Wars to end, and then the Marvel team had their live stream announcement today, and it was just Dwight and Ryan. And I gotta say, but they were joined by Jesse Falcon, the guy who created the Marvel Legends line, who now works at Marvel. And I gotta say, it was a bit subdued. Everything from beginning to end, the fanfare of it all was just kind of lacking. And the big reveal was Giant Man, which they actually kind of teased a few days ago. But everybody's been speculating all year long that it was either going to be Giant Man or a Quinjet or something Avengers related, because we knew it had to tie into the Avengers 60th anniversary campaign. So here it is. It's Giant Man. He's a big dude.
Smaller than a Sentinel, right?
He's smaller than a Sentinel. He's smaller than a Galactus, which is appropriately sized, honestly. And he's cheaper than them by a lot. And one of the main reasons he's cheaper, aside from being smaller, is they decided to. I think the reason things just got felt underwhelming today is because I think the team at HasLab felt a little intimidated by the way last year went down with the Ghost Rider. And so they got a lot of fan blowback from the way things were done. There was, remember when that campaign started, they were trying to do the early bird special. And if you do the early bird, you get the unmasked head of Robbie Reyes or something like that.
But they were also playing coy with what you got.
Yeah, they were also playing coy with what you got. And as soon as it got to the point where it became evident that they weren't the early bird for the Robbie Reyes head was not going to be achieved, all of a sudden that campaign started going in a nosedive.
They hit the Mephisto button.
And so they started revealing the stuff anyways as acts of desperation, because that seems weird. So if you're going to hold back your stuff that's enticing people, why start revealing it when the campaign's getting worse, unless you're trying to save it, So it was on life support from that moment on. And what ended up happening is they revealed a bunch of characters that people really wanted, but didn't want to pay this hefty price of $400 or $500.
300, I think.
Was it 350?
I feel like it was 350. Yeah.
For a car that they didn't really want, So there was a Mephisto, there was a Goblin Queen, and there was a son of Satan, Hellstrom. And those are cool Marvel characters for sure, but they're not, they don't have anything to do with Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider. So what ended up happening is just the fans revolted and just tanked the crap out of that whole experience. And so what they were saying when they were revealing Giant Man is, hey, look, after that happened, they sat around and said, all right, what do we know we can sell? And they know they can sell a Giant Man. They know that.
Yeah, I mean, this I feel like this is a pretty good deal. It's $200, right? If this would have been a Build-A-Figure, you would have at least spent $120, and it wouldn't have been half the size.
No, way more than $120.
6 figures.
Build-A-Figures are usually 7, 8 figures in a wave.
Okay, yeah. So you're going to be around the same price point. 160 smaller Giant Man.
Exactly. Yeah. And so,
That's pretty
yeah.
good.
So that's why I feel like
You only need
it's a
one.
good price. And then on top, well, they were trying to make you believe you needed multiples, but whatever. But like he does come with alternate faces you can put on. He's 2 feet tall. He's a big guy, like, and he's also got these sweet super articulated hands to like look, you can even put his hands in a snapping pose if you want. He's got sculpted details on the boots and the gloves. He's got these really cool faceplates. They also mentioned this is the first time ever in a Marvel Legends the eyeballs are actually glass. They're painted
Oh, really?
glass.
That's
So
cool.
they'll yeah, yeah, so they'll look like some I saw somebody complaining that he won't look like the same as all his other Marvel Legends. And I'm like, yeah, no crap, because he's way bigger. And so,
It'd be cool if the eyes can move.
yeah, I don't think they can move, but and then yeah, he's got these creepy faces you can put on him because they realize that people like that from the previous Galactus. And then yeah, he's super posable. He's got all the things you'd want him to do. But then as the tiers, what they ended up deciding to do for the tier unlocks is just focus on giving you more options for your giant man. So the first tier is going to unlock face plates for a zombie, and the second a zombie version of him, and the second would be a scroll version of him. And so you can see there they've got like all the other zombie figures next to him, and then all the other scroll figures, and those are cool. The zombie one is actually canonical. That's what he looked like in the comics. The scroll one is not. Like that's not the outfit the scroll giant man wore. I'm just
That's
like,
the one you're getting.
yeah, I'm like, you're reaching, but it's fine, whatever. But yeah, these are all very reasonable goals. Like 10,000 is the goal for the funding. He's already at like 30 or yeah, like
Yeah, it's already at 3,000.
3,100, 3,100, something like that. Yeah. So I mean, they always say that like, for a crowd fund to be successful, generally you want to see it around 30 to 35% funded on the first day. I mean, we're 12 hours in and it's already at 3,100. So I'm pretty sure this is fine. So, like they were saying, I think they just wanted a safe bet. And I mean, I like it. I obviously am getting it, right? Like I don't feel excited about it, but like he's cool.
I mean, he
He's
was gonna
cool.
come at some point.
He was going to come at some point, and so this was them saying, look, we lost a lot of money designing a Ghost Rider that didn't get made. And like the Jesse Falcon was even saying, like, look, he's had the experience, he's been part of this line since the beginning, since it was in Toy Biz. And he was saying in the history of this line, there are very few figures that have gone to prototype that they've never had to make. And it kills him every time that happens. You know what I mean? And so
I'm surprised we haven't gotten a Robbie alone at some point.
I'm not surprised because because the second they break that rule, then people will start saying, well, why are we helping you crowdfund anyway?
Maybe it shouldn't. It shouldn't have been. That's a bummer because he's a cool character.
I agree.
Now he's behind like the weird. Like I understand the Mephisto and some of the other reasons why they would put them behind that paywall, but
Yeah, and I'm not saying they'll never back down off it. Like they'll justify that, like, well, here's a cheaper, lamer version of Robbie because you'll never get him the way you wanted him, something like that. But in any case, Giant Man, 24 inches tall, $200.
coming next year.
You got till October to like late October to order him, and I mean, I I got him already. I got it. I did it. Unfortunately, I won't even see him till next year. So yeah, so it's a bummer because I don't have anything in hand right now to be like, look at here's my Robbie, here's my Ghost. No, I don't have that. It's not there. But yeah, what do you think of this one?
I think some of the faceplates look kind of dumb.
I agree.
I think he looks cool though. Are the these are bigger than the 12. I guess the 12-inch Legends that they came out with like a year ago, or
Yes,
no, a
they
few
are.
years ago now. Yeah,
He's
uh,
approximately
if
twice
he,
as big.
yeah, he's cool.
Yeah.
I kind of wish he was a little beefier.
Nah, that's about the right size for him.
Maybe
That's his size.
throw a Janet up in there. Would have been cool.
Yeah, see that was their whole thing, is they were saying that they learned from the Ghost Rider, is that fans were really divided on having uh this paywall to get characters they wanted, so they
Maybe
didn't want
not
to
a.
include any characters at all.
Don't throw a Janet in there, but throw like a stand, like a molded stand that comes off his shoulder or something. That's
That you
size
can,
for a Janet, but like you can. Here's
so
this
they
piece of plastic. You can do what you want with it.
that's fair. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like if the Galactus came with the stands for Frankie Ray and Silver Surfer, but not Frankie Ray and Silver Surfer.
yeah, they're just stands, but
Yeah,
it's this one conveniently fits a surfboard. So
yeah. And in fairness, like I think it's funny that they decided that that's the reason not to include characters, when, let's be honest, Galactus sold like gangbusters because it had all those extra characters that you can only
yeah,
get that way. And it's not the only Silver Surfer, but it's the only one with that head. So um,
I'm
yeah.
happy to report in other Legends news that my Miles Morales finally arrived, and I even ordered the new Spider-Man game. Uh, Spider-Man.
Oh, that's a good figure.
He is cool. He's cool. He
It's
got the toes.
Yeah, he's got the toes. He's got the toes. I love
So
him.
my desk is up to 11 Spider-Men now. So
Nice.
I feel like
You
I
got
got a
that.
little collection going.
You got the verse going right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then the only other news they got is that stay tuned for Hasbro PulseCon, which is like September 22nd, where they'll be probably revealing the next wave of figures, which won't even come out this year. Won't even come out this year. So, oh, I don't know if you saw in other news. Did you see I don't know if it's verified, but there was leaks of what the
Oh, the what if
episodes.
stuff.
Yeah, the what if
Uh,
episodes. We can save
half
it.
that list is true from what I saw because of the. I mean, it's they're like it show's so weird. They like release news on episodes, but then like, yeah, when's that show coming out? Or the
Yeah,
toys are already out. So
yeah. Oh,
what
the
if
toys out
two?
already?
Well, they're coming. The toys are shipping soon, right?
Yeah, I think so.
That wave's coming out. That wave will be out before the show. I think that's a safe bet.
Frank would just like to let you know that 24 is bigger than 12. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for joining us, Frank, by the way. We appreciate it. But yeah, if I sound subdued, it's only because they presented it to me
Man, I only
in
had to
a very
spend $200 today.
it's pretty cheap, right? Relatively speaking. By the way, you were right. The Ghost Rider was 350. I think the Galactus was 450.
Worst
And
Hispanic Heritage Month ever.
but yeah, like, I'm not mad to get a giant man, but I have many giant men. They're not as big as
Is
this
this
giant man.
okay? So this is the biggest giant man.
Yeah, but the Walmart one's pretty big. This one might have 6 inches on him.
You could probably do the Ghost Rider. You don't do the other figures, but you just do Robbie with the car. Like that's a Comic-Con drop, right? And just make it.
I'm
You make
but
you make it limited.
yeah, I'm never gonna say no to Robbie Reyes. Like, don't make me, fight for not having the toy. I'm just saying, like, from a business perspective, that's a really good way to piss off your fan base. You know what I mean? Is make something that's why they've strayed away from selling things that are so unique that you have to have them, like at Comic-Con, because fans were flipping out for years about the stuff that we used to get back in the day.
Go buy a ticket. That's what I gotta say.
As if it's
We
that
do it.
easy.
We do it every
As
year.
if it's not easy, though. It's not
It
easy.
isn't easy. It's a lot of work.
Yeah. So I feel the sympathy for the fans, and they can't get access to those things. And I feel that from a business perspective, that's never the relationship you want to be cultivating with your fans. Is that like, hey, did you know we're making stuff that you'll never get? You know what I mean? Like that's not that's a toxic way to do it. So that's why, like, I'm happy with the Deadpool and Hydra Bob that we're getting for Comic-Con. Mine just shipped, so I'm getting him in a couple days. It's exciting, you know. Is he like revolutionary Deadpool toy? Nah, he's like one of 20 that I have now, you know, or 15 or something like that. But he's got little things. He's got the toes. He's got the toes.
He got the toes.
Yeah. So, you know, you
Well,
take what you get. You take what you get.
Should we get into our spotlight? Because we said toes.
We can do spotlight, but I'm trying to understand why there's toes in it. I think you just ended the show.
No, we just started. We started toe talk.
Oh, but you hit the end button on the show.
I did. I let it ride for like a second too long too.
You know
what? I really don't. I wish they were mapped to like a button. And there's a way to do it with the Stream Deck. That's coming, but until then, we got to live with it.
No, Frank, we're doing the encore. We promise it's the encore now.
Harley Quinn, our Harley Quinn episode, season 4, episode 9.
It's
7?
9, aka potato-based cloning incident, aka the series penultimate episode.
Little Harley Quinn news. I forgot what board it was, but it was like a production board for booking, I believe, a sound recording. And there is a Harley Quinn season 5 recording session on the books.
Really?
But it doesn't from what I was reading, it could be a case of they're just like it's just safe practice to do so.
Yeah. Okay.
But
so you're allowed to report on that, but I can't report on Henry Cavill as Highlander.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I see the double standard here.
Yeah. It is.
Double standard. I get it. Yeah, you get to question my news all day long.
After your Zendaya shit you pulled last week, your news is just forever a question.
Frank and I are both confirming it. So
hottest Hollywood leaks coming from you and Frank.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, we're both confirming it, so there you go.
If Mario Lopez doesn't know about it, I don't know.
What does that even mean?
Access Hollywood.
Who cares?
All right. Well, we care about Harley Quinn.
We do.
Do we?
You know, you're taking the wind out of me by saying there might be a 5th season, because like that changes things for me. Because for me, honestly, this episode was fun. It definitely raised the stakes a little bit, but I don't know how I felt as it being the second to last episode of the show ever, because it spent the entire episode once again in the Zack Snyder verse, where it's the whole black and white fog of that. It was created by Lex Luthor. It's pretty funny, you know, like that he did this so that Superman could be depowered. But incidentally, we also learned through the show that it's not just Superman that he was intentionally screwing over. It's Poison Ivy, right? She has lost her powers because, you know, she's a plant. She's plant-based life. She can't photosynthesize, and so she's having a real hard time controlling the plants because the plants are all kind of dying. And I was like, when I saw that, I was like, okay, this Lex is pretty clever. Because he basically, you know, he was joking about like he's since, you know, if people want to, you know, make good, they're gonna have to move to his space station on the moon if they want the sun, you know, like whether it be Superman or Poison Ivy or anyone else that needs the sun, And then Poison Ivy's like, we all freaking need the sun, you idiot. Like, and it was funny. It was funny to me when she said that, because yeah, it's true. We would all have problems without a sun over time. Like, it's just, it's, we get some vitamins from that if you're not aware.
Yeah, I saw the Sunny D commercial. So.
Yeah, exactly. But it is a funny episode where, like, they're just kind of like, I know you didn't get to finish it, so I'm kind of curious how far you got. So,
like maybe 10 minutes in.
oh my god.
I mean, to be fair, that's 33% of the episode. So.
All right, so spoilers for anybody who hasn't watched it. This one's called Potato-Based Cloning Incident, because we finally learned that Harley Quinn has not been seeing things every time she sees a double of herself throughout the season. It's not due to her sleepwalking, and in fact, it is a potato-based clone of her, due to the fact that Jim Gordon was trying to microwave a potato in a Legion of Doom microwave that is also a cloning machine, and there happened to be a Harley hair on the potato. So when he did this, he created a second Harley, who is also tastes like butter for some reason, because she's a baked potato. It's funny, and then what you find out is this Harley has been filling in for the other Harley, who's been going around, doing time travel stuff with Poison Ivy. She's been trying to help out on the hero side, so she's been doing the Bat Family stuff and helping out Barbara and all these things, and she's been she's been vigilanting the crap out of Gotham City in amazing, violent ways, the way only Harley can. And so in this episode, when Ivy realizes that they got to take out Lex, she teams up with two Harleys to try and stop him. And there's a really funny scene in the process where, like, she ends up, like, Harley says some really nice things to her, and then she kisses her, and then the other Harley laughs because it's not the real her, and she's like, you totally kissed the fake Harley. It's really funny. So, and they're not, the two Harleys aren't even mad at that. They just think it's funny that they fooled her into making out with the wrong Harley. And then the show eventually culminates in, like, Lex is not having it. He's got a whole fortress. It's Fort Knox. And Harley, Poison Ivy can't do anything. She doesn't have her powers. So she realizes that she has to business up and get rid of Lex through other means. So she starts going around and campaigning to get all of the people to vote him out of power of LexCorp, and it's all silly and funny shenanigans, just like the show always is. And then meanwhile, Harley is she's finding out from Potato Harley that because she wants to go help still figure out who killed Dick, and Potato Harley finally reveals the truth, which is Harley killed Dick. Harley killed Nightwing in one of her sleepwalking moments, and to verify this, she got to do the one thing that we always get every season. She went and visited Dr. Psycho, and they clenched butt cheeks, and they went into her brain. And they saw the memory, and sure enough, Harley full on sleepwalk murdered Dick Grayson with a friendship bracelet. It's pretty dark, that scene. It's pretty funny. And so she feels pretty guilt-ridden about it, but instead of fessing up to it, she pins it on Potato Harley. and then she decides to tell at the end, she tells Batgirl that she's got to quit the vigilante thing because it's just not for her, and everybody she cares about keeps getting hurt around her. And Barbara's pretty heartbroken by this, and she's like, why would you do this? And then all of a sudden you hear a bang, and you look down, and Barbara has been shot through the spine. Guess who did it?
Is it the Joker?
It is the Joker.
Right, that's what he does, right?
That's what he does. He does. And so
yeah,
it just ended. The episode ended on Killing Joke cliffhanger. It was dark. It was a little dark,
You have
but
a
yeah,
Barbara on your desk in a wheelchair.
I do. She's over there. I can't really grab her right now, but she is on my desk. Yes. I Barbara in the wheelchair is my preferred Barbara, and I don't mean to say that I like when she gets shot and possibly raped. I just like I like the representation. So
Okay, if you want to, this was a side tangent, but I have to bring it up. During Rogers the musical, one of the dancers was in a chair.
yeah.
Like one of the Star Spangled. I mean, they recycle dancers. They do in old stuff and new stuff.
Why wasn't it just War Machine?
Well, what I was saying, she was great. She was doing all the number. Even popped a willy at some point.
Okay.
But she was in a modern chair in what is it, like the 40s? And I was like, what's the call there? Do you dress up the chair or no?
That's blasphemy. Now I hate that musical even more. I can't
Well,
stand it.
no, what?
Yeah. Did you ever watch Fresh Off the Boat?
No.
I really enjoyed that show for the first few seasons. I know that Eddie, what's his? I forget the actor, the chef's name. It's a famous like chef guy. This is his story. It's his life story
Yeah,
adapted.
it's someone with his name's slipping me. Randall
It's
Park.
Eddie. Yeah. But
Yeah.
it's the guy, the guy that wrote a biography, about his obviously his life, because that's what a biography is, and it was, it's a tell all about how he made it all the way, as a childhood as in an Asian immigrant family, and then became this cool badass chef eventually. And it was a very, I guess it's supposed to be edgy book and stuff, but ABC adapted it, made
Mhm.
it a super nice, family friendly, warm, loving story about kids growing up in the 90s in suburbia and stuff in Florida. And I enjoyed the show, even though I know that the original creator dipped out of being a consultant eventually, because it just felt just so far removed from his reality. you know I still enjoyed it for a while. They had a lot of cool characters. They had a grandma in a wheelchair. I liked grandma in a wheelchair. She was fun. One day, grandma got a new wheelchair. I got really upset.
Was it
grandma
like
was Grandma was driving my wheelchair, the one I drive now, in the 1990s. And I was like, bro, what are you doing? It's called an anachronism. And Frank, who's still probably watching, knows how much anachronisms can really hurt. So what you described in Rogers is just painful. I can
well,
tell
yeah,
you.
it was funny because like in the New York stuff, like when the Battle of New York and they're dancing, I got it, appropriate chair, but like I was like that thing wouldn't. I feel like you could have at least slapped a wooden thing on it, or like could have dressed it up a little bit. Um,
Yeah, a
but
wooden thing. Yes, I
like a
feel you.
different, something. But I had been sitting on that for like 2 weeks. I didn't know whether to bring it up or not, but I saw
Yeah,
my
well,
entry layer.
I've been sitting on the fresh off the boat one for years, so
Okay,
we're
okay.
fine. We're fine.
So now
But
I feel good.
I think that was our way of saying I think we're done talking about Harley Quinn. We will see how this all plays out next week. If it ends on a cliffhanger, they better have a season 5. If it doesn't end on the cliffhanger, I really hope that it,
I would be fine for more. Like I think I've expressed my thoughts of like it's just it's the shock factor is worn off, right? Because there was that initial allure of seeing DC portrayed in this kind of type of lens.
yeah.
And to their credit, they do bring in some interesting themes in this show, and they touch on some really funny points, or I would say controversial, but hot button points. But it's not as striking as when you first saw it in seasons 1 and 2.
Honestly, I'd kind of be more excited if they did an entire season where Barbara is in a wheelchair
I
and
hope. I mean, they're
you
good
get
at like consistency like that.
and you get to have Harley make weird wheelchair jokes and stuff like that. Like how does she bang? Like how, like just weird like in insensitive, inappropriate things that Harley would probably ask. Like that would be really funny. So I did think the funniest part of the show was you get to find out that apparently Poison Ivy and or no, sorry, Batgirl and Harley at one point did a CPR training with the Flash, and they were very insistent that the Flash is pretty cool because he's got jokes and he's just like acting a fool during CPR training. So apparently they got Flash on speed dial, and once Dr. Psycho realizes, because he helped Harley see her best memory, and he found out that Harley killed Dick Grayson, he was instantly ready to go on his podcast and just completely announce this to the world, right? Like, because it's like the biggest news ever. It's even bigger than the Joker stolen Valor story Valor story from the week before. He's about to do this, right? And you know what Harley does? She calls up the Flash on speed dial, gets him to come over, and then asks him if he can do a 5-minute time travel back in time to help her out with something. So he does, just because they're pals. He does, and then they rewind to right before Dr. Psycho helped Harley with her memory. And he's like, "Hey, don't you need my help with that memory?" And she's like, "No, no, no, I'm good. We're all good." And she dips out and leaves. And the whole time I'm thinking, wait a second. You asked the Flash to help you time travel so that Dr. Psycho doesn't know that you killed Dick Grayson instead of time traveling to the moment where you killed Dick Grayson. So yeah, that's Harley. What can you say? Like
There's
that's
limits. We saw in the Flash. You can't go that far back.
he
We saw the
literally
movie.
can't. He literally can't go that far back. What are we talking about? Like a couple of weeks ago? That's pretty easy for him to do. So just saying. But maybe they'll bring that up next week for sure.
But as
Yeah.
we discussed at the top of the show, what is coming back is Highlander. And
An immortal.
okay. How do you want to intro? We discussed why we watched Highlander.
Okay, we discussed why we watched it. I was really excited for you to watch it because I watched it with my wife and we were actually shocked at how well that movie holds up. But from in the green room right before we started the show, you had a different take, and
I
so I'm
just
kind of
watched it. So 10
yeah,
minutes
I know
prior
you
to the
did.
show starting, I just watched it. So
Oh, I
that's
know,
where I'm
I
at.
know, yeah.
Um,
I'm just curious. So, like, first off, before we get into like the difference of opinions, just for anybody who doesn't know, Highlander is about an immortal Scottish swordsman who must confront the last of his immortal opponents, a murderously brutal barbarian who lusts for the fabled prize. And basically, like, it sets up this whole lore of like, there's these people that live among us and they've lived among us for thousands of years, and they have a special power called the quickening, and it basically means that every time they chop another one of their own heads off, the power converges onto that person. It
yeah.
transfers onto that person. And so the tagline is there can be only one. So one day I think in the original movie, the quickening is the convergence of them in the final days to to claim the prize, right? I think that's what they called the quickening in the first movie. And so this movie takes place over the span of hundreds and hundreds of years, but it all converges in New York City in 1986, I think. And you meet Connor McLeod, who is played by Christopher Lambert, and he's an antique dealer, right? He's been around. This guy's rich. This guy's super rich. Like the place he has in New York is nice, and it's kind of what you'd expect from like a vampire or any other kind of immortal person, right? Like you got
He's
the
living the life.
ability. you have the ability to amass wealth over the course of hundreds of years. You could have even been poor at a few times in your life and still gotten back on your feet. You know what I mean? Like, if you can't die, if you don't have the risk of dying, there's a lot of cool stuff you can do. What Connor chooses to do is sell antiques and bang women. Uh, that's
Yeah.
but every now and then somebody comes for his head, and he has to cut their heads off, right? And so, yeah, you get to see the life story of this character, and you get to meet interesting other characters that he met throughout his life, and including Sean Connery, who plays the Spanish Ramirez, I believe. They call him a Spaniard, but he's actually an Egyptian, right? He
Yeah, he
says
says
at
he's
some point
Egyptian. Yeah.
he says he's Egyptian. I'm like, okay, but you have a Scottish accent. Okay, I don't. I'm a little all over the place with that,
Yeah.
but. And then the villain of this movie is a guy called the Kurgan, who's played by Clancy Brown. Did you happen to recognize Clancy Brown?
I mean, we talk about him a lot on this show, so
We do. This is one of his earliest roles. And he is, most recently, we saw him in the first episode of Ahsoka.
Yeah, we did.
He's been around for a long time, this guy.
He
And
looks good in this movie. He's pretty. I didn't realize how buff he was.
he looks pretty good, and that voice is killer, man. That is an amazing voice. If you don't recognize, he's also the voice of Lex Luthor in the old Justice League and Superman cartoons. But yeah, tell me, what do you think? Where did this movie just immediately like break for you?
I don't think it broke. I think it's. Let me preference this by I think you kind of sold me on like it's Sean Connery. It's Queen. I like the music. This is probably the second Sean Connery movie I've ever seen. First being League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Ooh,
I know he's a great actor. No, get me wrong. But I just don't have that. I've never seen any of his Bonds. I haven't seen any of his other films. So it's the weight of his presence is not on me. That being said, I like the premise a lot. And I am excited for a reboot of that premise.
They do some good lore, right? They
There's
create
some good
lore in that movie.
It is muddy. I think if you get a second pass on it, clean it up a little bit. You got something there. And to that second point, for a movie that is all about sword fighting, that is some of the worst sword fighting I have ever seen in a movie. And I think it's just intention. It's a product of his time and the blocking but knowing what I know now that the John Wick director is attached to a reboot.
Yeah.
A guy who can do some long ass tracking shots of action. Now I'm on board. I'm down for Highlander reboot. Like, don't get me wrong. You do the premise, you clean it up a bit. I'm in.
All right. In fairness, I will concede that point to you fully. Okay. I rewatched that movie and I'm like, yeah, the sword fighting's kind of clunky, but you know what? That sword fighting's pretty on par with the sword fighting we got in the original Star Wars movies too. Like,
sure. It's just of the time.
Yeah, it's just of the time. And is it cultural appropriation if the Highlander is rocking a katana blade?
I didn't mind that though, because I thought the lore reason they gave for it made sense.
Because the Spanish guy had a katana blade.
Well, he said he like had a Japanese lover, and then
I know.
But I would want to see other again a movie that centers around swords. I want some show me some cool ass swords. Like, give me some Mayan swords. Give me some. You have the katanas, of course. You have the give me like a big broadsword, like a long one. Give me all sorts of sword adjacent weapons.
I was kind of weirded out that the sword fighting, the sword that Connor McLeod was rocking was not a claymore, but I like that the movie later shows you that he did have a claymore, and that he buried it with his wife, with the woman he loved.
Well, there was also a practicality of it. Like, he has to carry this fucking sword with him.
Yeah,
it's not practical in modern times, which is also hilarious. because he's just rocking a trench coat everywhere.
Yeah. So let's talk about the different things. Like, what did you think of Christopher Lambert? Like, what did you think of the main character, Connor McLeod?
I thought he looked like Thomas Jane.
He kind of does. He looks a lot like
Um,
Thomas Jane. That's fair. That's fair.
I you could I what else is he in?
He's Raiden.
In Mortal Kombat?
Yes,
Like the game or the movie?
the movie.
The original movie?
Yes.
Okay, I haven't seen the original movie.
Oh wait, you've never seen the original movie?
Not the original Mortal Kombat.
I don't know, Frank. Do we make him watch that one? Because that's the special effects in that one are somehow worse than Highlanders. Honestly,
I didn't think he was bad. To be honest, like that character, I would love for them to do a reboot and not necessarily like. It's a bummer that it's called Highlander because that has such like Scottish, like it's I feel like that limits to what that character can be. Because I think it would be
that's the point. He's the Highlander.
Yeah, he's a Highlander, but I would love to see like
the hero of the story is the Highlander. Yes,
I would like to see that character not be from there.
Do you know what the original title for the movie was going to be?
What?
The Dark Knight.
That would have been cool.
It was meant to be the name of the Kurgan. That's what the original script,
you would have
screenplay
opened up much more sequel capability because now you can't sell like the Dark Knight a Highlander story. You know what I mean? Like it has to loop back to that name.
Yeah, it does. And in fairness, it does always have to. It is intertwined with you got to have a Scotsman, be the main antagonist or protagonist. And so what's really funny is as I was rewatching this movie, like a lot of core memories were triggering, which was really funny. By the way, Frank says you absolutely need to watch Mortal Kombat. We'll see when we put that into your library. But the funny thing about the Connor McLeod is or the Highlander franchise, because I told you don't have to watch any other of the movies, just watch this one, right? There's shows too, and you know what I didn't realize, like one, as I started watching the movie and immediately hear the Queen music, I'm like, oh yeah, Queen did the song. And then I'm like, oh wait, no, Queen did the songs, plural. Like Queen did the soundtrack for this movie. Yeah. And it's pretty impressive. That soundtrack. It's a great soundtrack. It's a great soundtrack for that movie. Second thing, core memory, I had remembered. Oh yeah, there's a TV show that came out about only 6 years after this movie. And I decided to go and watch like the first 15 minutes of the TV show, and I was quite surprised to be reminded that Christopher Lambert, playing Connor McLeod, shows up in a guest appearance in this show. And I realized, oh my God, the Highlander franchise is actually one of the first shared universes across movie and TV. The TV show follows another member of his clan, Duncan McLeod, who was born later after Connor. But they are both immortals who know each other and choose not to cut each other's heads off. Like it's kind of like the rule, like, hey, we can be cool. We don't have, nobody says we have to cut each other's heads off. You know what I mean? Like,
circling back to like, oh, go ahead.
Oh, so I was going to say the only trick with the TV show is it kind of has to negate the ending of the movie, because the movie ends in such a final way that like
he's the last one, isn't it?
Right? You can't have sequels. And so what they ended up doing is making a bunch of sequels to this franchise that all had to ignore the ending of the movie. So, it's like I've seen video games like that too, right? Where they make sequels and they're like, pretend that last 5 minutes.
They made a second movie and then they made a third movie that negates the second movie.
Yeah, well, because did you read about the second movie? Like
it's in the future.
Oh my god, the second movie is amazing. It's balls to the walls crazy. It's basically, yeah, it takes place in the year 2024, where the Earth has been like,
Ozone shit and like
yeah, the ozone's like going down and whatever. But you also find out that the Highlanders are aliens from the planet Zeist.
yes.
And so like what's really funny, and then somehow to even go even crazier, fucking Sean Connery's character comes back. Like Sean Connery's in the second movie, and you're just like, yeah, like Frank's saying, like I don't know what what they were thinking. The second movie is bonkers, right? And so, like, yeah, they fly on discs. But what's even crazier about this movie is like I was reading that it actually got like it was made in I think like Venezuela for part of it, and apparently like,
Argentina and the government collapse, right?
yeah, something like that, or Argentina, and the government collapsed during this time. So the movie was going to go belly up. So all the investors, like actually, um, like the completion bond company and the investors took direct control of the production and the final edit. And they basically removed the director who was the director of the first movie, Mulcahy. They removed him and his whole influence and just completely changed parts of the story, just move things around. And so what you end up with is a non-canonical movie that somehow was still like, people still were like buying into this, like, hey, yeah, we like this lore. Give us more Highlanders. It was, the first movie was actually technically it like made less money than it cost.
Mm-hmm.
But it ended up, being one of those VHS cult
Yeah,
classic
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
movies and stuff. And so the studios just kept making more and more. But yeah, the third movie, um, is where they bring it back to canon. And then what's even crazier is I believe it's the fourth movie, which all of these movies still include Christopher Lambert, but the fourth movie brings Christopher Lambert together with the character from the TV show, and they fight side by side in the fourth movie. And then the fifth movie is just the character from the TV show. So it really is a shared universe, like, which is pretty crazy, with one bonkers movie that people like to pretend didn't exist. Um, I mean, which is kind of true about most shared universes, anyways, right? Like,
Yeah,
so
there's I can see the puzzle pieces. I can see like I would love for you swap out Queen. I kind of would like it to be more like the Vegas sense, like a hip hop soundtrack. And I think you could, but you obviously I don't think you can do that with like a Connor McLeod. But while watching
the
this,
TV show guy is Duncan, yeah, with a CAN. Yes.
yeah, definitely while watching, I was slotting in like, okay, you tweak this a bit, you fix this a bit, you got a solid like thing here.
You saw the makings of what could be a brand,
Yeah,
like a rebooted franchise, right? Like, it's a strong base, and that's what I liked about it. And like, and what I also thought was really cool is I read cool like interviews and stuff about Christopher Lambert recently, like from like a few years ago, reflecting on his time as the Highlander for all those years. And he really feels like really strongly and favorably about that character. And people asked him why, what about it was so appealing to him. And what he thought was really cool about this character is like, he's immortal, right? Like, he's lived countless lives, right? He's probably fallen in love multiple times, right? Like, we saw at least 3 times he was in love in that one movie,
yeah,
right? At different periods of time. His first wife sucked, though. She's like, he's a witch, kill him, like, she's, or if it's his girlfriend, whatever it was, like, that one was not a very cool wife. But his second wife was pretty badass, right? He stayed with her all the way till she grew old and died in front of him, like, of natural causes, like, even though like he never aged. And I thought that was really cool. And then just, again, like, he falls in love with the cop, the forensic person in the 1980s. And what he was saying in interviews, what he really loved about this character is that he never stops being optimistic, even though he experiences all this pain throughout his life. He always wants to be, he wants to smile, and he always lets himself be open to falling in love again. And he thought that was a really cool um, characteristic to live up to, or to to portray in a movie. And I thought that was really beautiful when I read that, because like I think that is really cool, and that is like, it's so easy to go dark, right? Like, or to go insane.
Yeah, he's not
Like
like I don't think he hates his life. Like, yeah, I never
yeah,
got that vibe from this movie.
I
He's
think
it's a
the
burden.
Kurgan I think the Kurgan is what most of us would end up being if we were immortals, right? Like, we would just, over time, we'd just be like, everybody's just, meat puppets, whatever. We just kill them, they don't matter at all. Like you would just be jaded after a certain many, several hundreds of years of living on this planet. But yeah, like but Frank's saying, the Highlander is basically a vampire story without the wussy artsy shit. You're not wrong, Frank. And that's kind of what I loved about it. Like, I thought it was really cool. Like, it never got as emo as a lot of Dracula stories would get, but like, but he still has to kill, right? He still has to kill like Dracula does. And, you could argue it's in self-defense, but like, I mean, the whole point
But
is
yeah, it was
for a
cool. Like when
prize.
he met up with his friend and like, hey, were you cool? Like, they were just buddies and they share the same burden, but they're also like, yeah, it. I think it humanizes him in a way of like, to your point, like, yeah, they're not all here to murder, right? They're just like stuck
Yeah.
with this power.
Yeah. I'm just curious. And I did like the way he reacted when he learned about that, right? Like, he was just as surprised as everybody else that he survived his first mortal wound, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he was very happy about it. He's like, "Hey guys, I'm okay." And everybody's like,
Like, yo,
"Get that witch," like they like I felt bad for him in that moment. Like, those are some pretty crappy friends that are just like, "No, dude, you're supposed to die. You don't get to live." And it's like, that's hard. That's a hard thing to swallow. But I'm curious, like, what was your favorite scene in this movie?
um, probably the opening all the way through the parking lot. The way the music just kicks in, you have like credits playing, and then they go to the wrestling match, and there's a really, for that time, that tracking shot where they go around the arena and then pull focus on him up in like the upper stands.
Really
Like
good,
like
right?
that's some like pre-drone
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah, I
um,
know.
that was pretty impressive.
I thought a lot of the cinematography in this movie was very not of its time. And
Agreed,
what I
agreed. It's shot very
modern
modern,
sensibilities. Yeah.
which I think lends to the bummer why the sword fighting
Yeah.
is lackluster, because
We're
it is a
not
lot of quick cuts and
I will 100% give you that for the remainder
but
of your
yeah,
life.
like
You can
that
own that.
tracking even that first sword fight, there's a lot of pauses while they're kind of like
Yeah.
taking breaks in the fight, and he's like going in between the cars where the lights are going off. Yeah, there's some really cool like tracking shots and wide shots
Yeah.
of them.
I learned that the director actually this he really wasn't much of a movie director before. He was a music video director. And so that's where a lot of his sensibility comes from. And that's actually also how he got Queen to do the soundtrack for this. Like, he knew Queen, and like, he just had he has a lot of cool artistic sensibilities that aren't, he's not bogged down by like this is the formula for making a
Yeah,
movie for Hollywood. Like, he can do things differently. And like, I agree with you, that wrestling sequence was actually really cool. And I was surprised how impressed, like,
it threw me
it
off
it,
because I
it
had no idea what this movie was, like, honestly.
yeah, yeah,
And I was like, wait, this is supposed to be set in the past. Why are we wrestling?
yeah, yeah.
um
um that's cool. I'm glad you like that part. So, because that was the beginning of the movie, and I think it kind of, it filled you with a sense of mystery, right? And you kind of like, where
It's a good hook. That is
yeah,
a really good hook.
it's a good hook, and it makes you wonder, why am I watching two guys sword fight, like with different era swords in
Like
a parking lot?
I did you ever play For Honor?
Yeah, yeah.
It
I know what you're
reminded me a
talking about.
lot of that, or even what was that show? It was that show on Spike where like who would win between a samurai and
Yeah,
a
no, I know
knight,
it. Yeah, I know
and
what you're saying.
it was
Yeah,
kind of cool, like because
it's
they
like
broke it
A&E or
down.
something like that, right?
Yeah, they
Yeah,
broke it down like the dumbest fuck Ultimate Warrior, I think what it was called.
yeah,
Or and that's what I see like a new reboot. Like, oh fuck, what happened if like the samurai trained guy goes up and fights?
yeah.
You know,
You didn't get to see enough fighting styles on display in the
like fighting
original movie.
styles and
Yeah,
honestly weapons. Like I would like to see like a variety of swords, but even like you know why not a bow? Like why not have like
yeah.
let's get some like the weird torture medieval you know maces and shit that we had back then. Like let's do it.
They definitely have to cut a head off, though. That's the rule.
Yeah.
It has to. The head
Like
has to be cut.
what weapon do they have back in the day? Well, he
Yeah.
didn't really cut the Kurgan's head off. He kind of like sliced it. He just sliced his neck a little bit.
I think it fell off,
He
though.
sliced it and it fell back.
Yeah, but in any case, I think I feel what you're saying, and I do feel like those are the things I was thinking when I was watching the reboot. Is like, how much cooler could this be now? And but I do think it's funny that you were catching on those, because like I was reading that the guy who wrote the story, the inspiration for this was he traveled to like the Tower of London, and he saw all of these really cool weapons from different periods of time on display, and he thought to himself, wouldn't it be cool if one person used all these weapons throughout time, or if these weapons were used against each other? You know what I mean? Like, and I think that is a cool way of looking at it. Like, it's like, yeah, like what if ancient samurai had to fight like Native Americans and stuff, like different kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that and then you get to like they kind of did it here, but like even just like the concealing of it. Again, like you just can't walk
yeah,
around
how do
with
you,
this with this
yeah,
with this sword these days.
how do you hide it? Like, how do you get away with it? Like, do you
Like
have
he like
this?
it was cool. He killed the dude in the parking garage and like I gotta throw this
And
up
he
there.
threw
Like
the sword up in the light to hide it, right? It's like, yeah, it was pretty practical. It's just like, I gotta hide this somewhere where the cops won't find it. Like, but he knows that sometimes it doesn't have to be as flashy as you think. Like he
Mhm.
doesn't expect much from most mortals, I guess. But yeah, no, I did really enjoy so many of those little touches that you're pointing out. But for me, my favorite scene, which made me 100% convinced that I never fully watched this movie or paid attention to it as a child, because when I saw him in Nazi Germany saving a little girl, and then this German soldier comes out with a gun pointed at him, or no, or yeah,
Yeah,
does he have
yeah,
a gun pointed at? Yeah,
yeah.
and he says something in German, and then dude says, "Whatever you say, Jack, you are the master race," and then pumps him full of lead. Oh my god. I was like, this is an amazing thing. Like, this is so amazing, because like just this, to say you are the master race, like, that's so funny coming from him. You know what I mean? Like,
It was
it's just like,
it's that scene was funny because like you have like the most sounds so bad. Perfectly dressed Nazi officer alone chasing this guy. Like
yeah.
what
But
needs
I
to
really
happen?
but I really also liked that, that little girl is who ended up being, his assistant, like his curator. He's his daughter, right? He raised her as his daughter, and she stayed with him as long as. I do think, like, I kept thinking to myself, like, so are you just not gonna go visit her after you beat the Kurgan at the end of the movie? Like, why did you have to say goodbye to her? That's
You
like,
knew what you signed up for.
yeah, that was kind of weird. But But yeah, and so the movie, the ending is weird, right? Because it ends with him gaining the power to see into all men's minds and know like what everyone's thinking, and he can potentially help manipulate people or steer people towards peace or world peace or whatever. Whatever. It's some weird, lofty, weird power, and they immediately had to negate it because they're like, shit, we could probably do more of these movies if we just pretended that the Kurgan wasn't the last one and we just kind of backtrack on that. And so for some reason, yeah, Christopher Lambert was down to clown. So he just kept coming back,
Yeah, man,
even
it's a
when they're
paycheck.
like, yeah, even when they're like, we're in the year 2024. And he's like, sure, sign me up. It's kind of weird. Uh, but you know what's really funny is that he, yeah, he basically he's done all of these movies, and the canon doesn't really matter either. Like it doesn't. I mean, you just like the ones you like, really, and he's super famous for these movies. Like whether or not you knew who he was, but the craziest thing about it for me is he learned English for this movie. This man did not speak English
Where's it
before.
from?
He's French.
Oh,
Um,
really? Wow.
yeah, he's a French man, and he had been in like two movies previous to this. The most recent one was Greystoke. It was a take on the Tarzan story,
Hmm.
and when they were casting this movie, Sean Connery was already cast. He was cast before Chris Lambert, and when the director was trying to find the person that they wanted, he just happened to see like a movie poster of this Tarzan movie, and he's like, that's the guy right there. I want that guy. He's got everything I want out of this character. And in all honesty, like I read like this guy put in the work to learn English. Does he have a weird accent? Yeah.
He does have
And
an
I
interesting accent. Yeah.
and I'm not even like, it's when I say weird, I mean like I'm not sure it's a French accent. You know what I mean? Like it's like you can't really tell what kind of accent it is, but for me, it kind of worked because it's like it's to me in my head canon, it was like this is the accent of a man who's lived in multiple cultures throughout
Yeah.
hundreds of
I,
years. You
I,
know what I
I can
mean?
interpret that way.
Yeah. So I was like, yeah, you talk funny, bro, but I think you're allowed to talk funny, and that's okay. So but I do think that's really cool that he went to the trouble of I mean, yes, it's a paycheck. Of course he's gonna want the money, but I'm just saying, like the man learned English to be the Highlander, and I think that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Well, I think we were both high on the Highlander, and we'll see how well this show ages when we do our Den Excelsior.
But here's the thing. Before you wrap it, what would you give it on a scale of 1 to 10?
It's like a solid 7.
There you go. Well, see, you sound sad when you say that, but I think a 7 for a
It's
movie from the
fine.
1980s, that's pretty good,
Will
right?
I watch
Is
it if it's on? No. But
is
if I
this
remember clips from it and go find them, yeah, I'll go find the clips.
is it better than any of the old movies we've made you watch before?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Is it better than He-Man?
I think He-Man has better highs.
Is it better than Cole
Yes, it's
or
better than
Kroll?
Kroll.
Kroll?
Kroll.
Kroll? Kroll?
Kroll
Kroll.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Kroll. Yeah. I thought it was a pretty good movie, and I think here's the most important question: are you excited for a Henry Cavill version of this movie?
I'm excited for a new version of this movie by the John Wick director. I can live with or without the Henry Cavill part.
But are you excited knowing the lore? That's what I'm saying. Like knowing the
Yeah, as
lore,
someone who created a franchise with this lore subtext and does action really well, yeah, he seems like the perfect pairing to take on Highlander.
the John Wick guy. Yeah,
Yeah,
fair
John
enough.
guy. Yeah,
Fair enough. I guess I'm just excited because I know that Henry Cavill is a big nerd, and he is apparently a big fan of Highlander, the franchise, and so And
Like
he can fight with a sword.
yeah,
I've seen him fight with a sword.
I'll stand with like I think the Highlander character is not interesting. The premise of the character is. So I wouldn't mind it being swapped out for someone else or something.
You mean the actor is not interesting? Is what you're saying? You didn't
Yeah,
find
even
you didn't find his story interesting, that like he had that wife that got raped and never told him? Like that's so sweet and
maybe a
sad at the same
better
time.
actor could have done a better like delivery or reaction to that.
Yeah.
Um, but I would be open if you just slot in Henry Cavill and do the thing. I think that you'll have a good movie. But I dare them to take the more you know the more creative path and try to take those elements and apply them to a different source character. You know.
Well, he's gonna be Scottish, bro.
Yeah, I know.
He
With the
has to be
Highlander,
Scottish.
you're pigeonholed in that.
But you don't. But their other characters don't have to be Scottish.
Yeah,
Just he does, right? Like,
mm.
just to be clear, the fun thing about the show is the show explores all the things that you wish you would have got from the movie. You know what I mean? Because it's back in the day when shows were like a season was 24 episodes long. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, padded out.
there are 6 seasons of that show. It ran for a long time, and you got to see all the different kind of immortals that there would be in the world, and you got to learn all about the rules of how they do the thing. Like, I'm not saying go watch the show. I'm just saying, if you ever wanted to get your lore just exploded into like 1,000 times what you got from that 2-hour movie, go read up on the show is what I'm saying.
All right.
But that's all. I'm happy that you gave it a 7. That's all I wanted. For me, this movie, I give it at least an 8, because I was quite impressed. Like you said, that Queen music, I forgot how awesome the Queen music was in this movie.
I'm surprised I haven't heard it since. Like, I feel like,
the show uses it for 6 seasons, and that's why I'm pretty shocked that I forgot about the songs. The show uses the main song as the theme song for the TV show. But I was super impressed by Clancy Brown in this movie. I was mildly entertained by Sean Connery. I was like, this is a weird role for you, Sean Connery, but he filmed that in 7 days. All of his scenes in that movie.
I believe it.
They squeezed it into 7 days.
He just fights on a rock for like 20 minutes. So,
I mean, he does a lot, actually. He's in a lot of scenes in that for like 20 minutes of that movie, but it was pretty impressive because I guess he was like on the set. He knew that his contract was for 7 days, and he told the director as it was getting towards the end, it's like, if you go past 7 days, they got to pay me another $250,000. And that director just squeezed in everything he could. And then at 4 p.m., he said, that's a wrap on the last day of Connery's shoot. And Connery looked at him and said, you bastard. Like, he was pretty excited to get another $250,000, and he did not. They were just efficient at doing that whole thing. Anyways, that's my last fun fact. I am now relinquishing it to you. You may use the quickening however you see fit.
With my new quickening powers, I'll choose the end of the show. Next week we got the finale of Harley Quinn, and what else are we doing next week?
I guess you're watching Mortal Kombat, bro. Honestly, Ricky, the timing's kind of perfect.
The game comes out next week.
The game comes out next week, dude. Let's keep it on a Christopher Lambert roll.
All right, I'll watch Mortal Kombat.
All right, I'll tell you this right now, though. I'm gonna fair warning you. The CG is terrible, bro.
I've seen the Goro.
Oh no, the Goro's not CG. He's real.
Oh yeah. When he falls, he's CG. Well, no, he's not.
No, it's like weird other special effects, like old classic special effects. No, Reptile is CG, and he is terrible. He's terrible. Okay, I'm just fair warning you. Everything else in the movie is quite adorable, I would say.
Stay tuned next week to hear my thoughts on the terrible lizard. And with that, true believers,
reptile, bro,
reptile. Hear me shit on Mondo Gecko next week, and true
And
believers.
I'm excited. Let's do this next week. Tune in.
Peace out, guys.
Like, follow, and subscribe.
Patreon.com/DenXmedia. Peace.